Hello. Attention, please. All right. It's glad to see you here, and it's gonna be our last session of Forum Ludorum this semester. And this semester, for the last session, we have our Ed or Pony Ed Pony. And he's going to talk about fighting games here. Then let's welcome him here. All right, and let's hand it to you.
Thank you. So, hello, my name is Eduardo Peña, and we'll be talking about balance in fighting games. Now, I'll just open up with a statement, and we will go through the whole presentation, kind of thinking about this, and then hopefully by the end, you either agree or you have formed your own conclusion. But balance in fighting games is a little bit overrated. While I'm not saying that we should not pursue balance in fighting games, you will find that in many games that are regarded as the best fighting games, there is a little bit of unbalance, and it doesn't detract from the fun or the gameplay of the game. So, what? I was talking without a cool presentation there. I thought it was mirror, right? Yeah, I thought it was mirror already. I can do it, I think. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we were here, and then we're here, fighting games, right? So let's give a quick introduction to fighting games, and we'll start this by doing a quick dynamic. So you just have to vote, just raise your hand to which clip you want to see. We can watch the clips after if there's enough time, and you can vote whichever times you need, it doesn't matter. So just raise your hand if you want to see the Street Fighter 3 clip. Okay, yeah, I see a couple. Some Smash Melee. Yeah, I see a little bit more. Tekken 7. Yeah, okay. It's almost as Melee. And Marvel vs. Capcom 2. No. Okay. Okay. So we'll watch, I think Melee was like for one vote or something. It was really fast. So also excuse the language. It's just the nature of these videos.
What the shit?
Yeah.
It's going down. Wait, whoever the fuck said that set in Florida was the best match.
So just to give like a quick thing of what's happening, Marth is down by 1 stock in Smash. That's your lives, and the Falco player is up by 3 stocks. So he's winning by a lot.
I don't even want a commentary anymore. I'm watching.
You watching? All right, fine. Pass is watching. I'm gonna scream into the mic like I've been doing. Shit! What? Oh no!
Oh my god!
Oh, the sound is off. Yeah, but it's okay. Don't worry. You just hear the crowd going wild. Yeah, very sick. So yeah, that's just one of many matches that had happened in Smash, and what is crazy about is that in Smash there's a lot of what we call momentum, and it's just the state of mind of one player against the other. And in that part, the Marth player was losing by a lot, but he got into the correct state of mind, and he got the win. Yeah, so that's just to get a quick introduction. So I was looking to gather a definition, like a very formal definition of a fighting game. And what I found was not very convincing. There's a lot of nuances when you're trying to define a fighting game. Now you might think, okay, it's just, let's say, 1v1 player against player that have HP. But if you have that definition, I don't know, many games have that. PvP in Elden Ring has it. So, but that's not considered a fighting game, kind of. So I will not be giving you a super formal definition of it, but I'll give you many examples. So, you can create your own. I also think this will help you because when you have a broader understanding of what a fighting game is, you are not limited to the genre or the definition, so you can create whatever you want. Yeah, so here we have many fighting games, very famous fighting games. The first one being Karate Champ. It's called the father of fighting games. It introduced this first time player against player with fighting moves. And then you have many others. And when you try to define them or see where they kind of relate or don't relate, you can see they start to differ a little bit. You got the Karate Champ, the first one, and it has the points. It's score based, not HP or percentage as Smash. You have the same character, which is the only one that has the same character. So you could say this is a perfectly balanced game, albeit not a very fun one after a while. Then you got Street Fighter 2, one of the most influential fighting games of them all, and they use HP base. So what they saw in Karate Champ, they thought, okay, this is good, but it can be better, or they thought they needed to change that. You have different characters. The first one, I believe, had 12 characters, and then many iterations after. Got like 24 or 20. Then, Mortal Kombat is kind of similar, but then you got Tekken 3. I mean, since Tekken 1, it was 3D, but Tekken 3 is the most special one amongst the old ones. And it introduced the 3D genre. So again, they were thinking, okay, it's not only 2D. We can change it. We are not defined by these rules that have been established for some years now. And then everyone thought 3D fighting games were the future. But still, Capcom, although they did make a Street Fighter 3D game, they created Street Fighter 3, and they went back to 2D. So it was this battle on that time between 2D and 3D. Then you got Soul Calibur, which introduced the ring out mechanic, or made it popular, where you can not only win by depleting the HP of the enemy, but you can throw them out of the ring and just win. Which this was kind of, they thought it was cheesy, and on Soul Calibur 2, there were a lot of combos that can, from the start, from the beginning of the stage, throw you to the ring. So if you get touched one time, you die. People didn't like it as much for that part. But then some other Soul Caliburs still have that one-touch thing. And then you got Smash Bros, which the director, Sakurai, has already stated that he was a fan of fighting games, but he wanted to make an antithesis of fighting games because he thought they were becoming very difficult or very competitive. So he made Smash, where you don't have combos and it's not difficult, but of course that changed with competitive. Since the first one all up to the newest one, Ultimate, it has been very competitive, Melee being the most competitive one, I think. And it introduced this percentage-based stocks, right? And then you got Marvel versus Capcom, which is a team-based game. And I had to do a new tag for it because it changes the whole thing and it introduces teams to the formula, and it's way different. So as you can see, kind of difficult to just grab every label that they have here and create a definition. Now, to put a little bit more chaos, and I talked about it, this can also be considered some fighting game, kind of, right? So when you hear about PvP builds in Souls-like games, you start hearing about, oh, this move has a lot of startup, or you have iframes, or you have, oh, this hitbox is really big, or whatever. And all those terminology is also used in fighting games. Then you got Rumbleverse, this on the right. It's a battle royale fighting game. It focused a lot of the special moves. It was sadly shut down, but it was really fun. You got Naraka, which is an MMO really focused on close combat. Just close combat. And you also have this type of action games, which are very, very focused on combos. If you see those crazy videos on YouTube about Dante or Virgil creating this 250 combo string. And if you see the inputs, they are very similar to a combo in a fighting game. So, still a little bit difficult. Now, I hope you have maybe a little bit less understanding of fighting games, but a better idea in your head of what might or might not apply. And now we'll go a little bit into the player psychology, because this dictates a lot of how characters or the whole system is seen in a fighting game. I really like this quote by Jeff Kaplan, the former Overwatch game designer. So he says the perception of balance is more powerful than balance itself. So what does this mean is people will believe or try or want to believe that the game that they're playing is balanced, even though it may not be, because games in general are a little bit unbalanced by nature. So what will happen is a dominant strategy, or the strategy that is used most to beat everything else will come up, and then people will think, okay, I know the designers made a good job in creating this game, so probably there's something to counter this, and they will look for it, and hopefully they will find it, and then that strategy beats the dominant strategy. So it creates this cycle, this environment where everything is constantly changing. Now, when that doesn't happen, when they don't find that counter strategy, then people will start, losing it and asking for some changes because it's impossible to beat. Now, how much time does that take to figure out something? It varies, of course, from game to game. But normally, it doesn't happen at the start. You will find, and we will see some examples where people think they know what's happening in the game. They think, okay, this character is very powerful, please change it. And the game has been out for a couple of months. And then after, if it was out for 4 months, on month 5, they will find something that counters it. So that's very important. So do not jump straight into, if someone is thinking, oh, this character is very difficult or very powerful, wait a little bit. You might find that it balances itself over time. Tier lists. This is, I think, the quintessential example of the most biased thing you can do. It's thinking you know everything about the game and you create your own tier list and you put how the characters should go and how powerful they are. Normally, these are not very great to look at. You will see, but as a designer, if you're looking to see which characters might need a change, these are a good point of direction that you can get. Because if you see many of these from top players, or because normally top players do them, but maybe a low-level player, you will start to see a pattern. Maybe one character is always either on top or in super low. So you make a note. You think, okay, I might need to research a little bit with my own data, with my, in the database that we have, what is happening with this character? Why is it always on these spots on tier list? But overall, these are very biased, so be careful with them. We will go back a little bit to tier lists, and maybe it's going to explode. Cool. Maybe? Don't explode. I think so. Has never made us sound like that. We don't want to have a fire hazard. Okay. This is too much. Okay. So should we? Yeah. Can you like log out of there maybe?
Hello, hello. Okay, good. All right, excuse me, excuse us. Let's come back to it.
We're not in danger anymore, so that's good. Where was I? Here? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Okay, so now we'll go into balance. Now the whole thing of the talk. So let's start with a little bit of a definition of what balance is. I like this one from Mark Brown. Is the art of making sure that all options in a multiplayer game are fair. But what does that mean? That means it's the options don't need to be considered overpowered, or they beat everything else, or underpowered, and there's not even a choice to use them. So this divide, you will see that it mainly boils down to characters having a lot of good options or a very good frame data. Now I will give you a definition of those two things a little bit later when we see the case, but it basically means that these characters, the overpowered characters, can take advantage of all the systems that the game has and push them up to basically the limit without any trade-offs, without any bad things happening to them. And the other side basically is there just to fill the roster. So it's kind of feels bad. I'm a Ganondorf main Smash, but I also play Chun-Li in Street Fighter, so you win some, you lose some, right? Now let's take a look at basically the most basic example of them all, rock, paper, scissors. And it's not a fighting game, but it can teach us a lot of small details about it. So as you may know, rock, paper, scissors has 3 options, and each option has the same probability to come up. If each character has the same options. It's not like if you play a random person on the street, they can come up with a new thing, although they can, but it's not the rules. So yeah, this could be considered a balanced game, and it's based on a direct counter system. Some other games that use it are Pokemon or Fire Emblem. They use this direct counter system when this beats this all day. Now, fighting games have a little bit different, but they also use this. They have this attack beats throw, and throw beats grab, and grab block means beats attack, because that's usually how it goes on fighting games. Now, a lot different characters can do different things to kind of be very good at one of these things, but usually this is how it goes. Now on the right, this is, I don't know if it's, yeah, it's a little bit small, but this is something of what is happening kind of in the mind of a Smash player. They have this three things, which is also like move in, attack, and grab. And each of them beats the other one. And you need to know that this wheel is spinning really fast on each Smash player. Anyone that is playing, you will always be creating these decisions all the time. Do I go in? Do I go out? Do I block? I see the opponent is approaching me, so maybe I should do a projectile, whatever. You're always thinking these decisions. And that is very engaging to humans. Humans love to do decisions. But there's a very fine line in where it becomes overwhelming when you have so many that all of them are good, or you have too little or not important decisions. That makes it too boring. So in Smash, for example, when the opponent is very far, you are not thinking, okay, maybe I should block. That has gone a little bit out of the window, because there's no way they can approach you in time and you cannot block. So it reduces the mental stack that you have, and it's spinning the other decisions, right? No, it's here. So let's take a little bit closer look at Pokemon, which is, again, not a fighting game. But it starts very basic, right? You have the 3 starters, and each one has a direct counter to it. That's the whole point of the starter trio, to have a counter to each of it and a strength to each of it. But then when you realize, when you put all the elements, it creates this messy web of strengths and weaknesses, and it's very difficult to visualize that way. Many of the people that play Pokemon can tell you when an ice type comes up, they can tell you, oh, it's weak against this, this, and this. But making a graph, it's kind of interesting to see the whole graph. And this is not counting, double typing. It can become way more of a mess. Now, what happens when you bring it to fighting games? Well, it's not a direct counter system. It doesn't use that, as we saw. Although the options that characters have are kind of a counter system, the character itself is not a direct counter to another character. For example, Juggernaut is not a direct counter to, I don't know, Guile from Street Fighter. They exist, and some options they do might win against the other options, but that's just the case. And trying to balance this, it's crazy. So Marvel's Capcom 2 has 56 characters, and it's a team-based game. So just by trying to balance 56 characters in a game is very difficult on itself. It's if you played League of Legends, it has like more than 100, and it's the balance there is very difficult to do. Now, because it's a team-based game, oh, it's here. God damn it. There's a combinations of possible teams that can happen, and that's 27,000 team combinations that can appear, that you can create on Marvel's Capcom 2, which is insane. Nobody's going to test that. But being the nature of the game that allows you to create any team that you want, you kind of have to do something about it. And what I haven't told you is that each character has a different assist when you select it on your team. It can select from 3 assists. So, and some characters basically live or die by their assist. They're not even good characters in general, but their assist is very good. So you can consider that as another character to think when you are creating your team. So that jumps up to 776,000, which is insane. So do you think they achieved a balanced game? Do you think? No? I see some no's. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, no, they didn't. Only these 6 characters are viable. Sentinel is actually just viable because of the assist. And this is, of course, just talking about competitive, the most top of the line gameplay. Of course, you're playing with your friends or anything. Everyone is kind of fun, except maybe Cerebot, but that's just fun. Now, this has stayed like this since the game came out. And now they decided to implement some other rules to kind of balance it. So they basically, you have like $15 and each character costs something, right? And then of course this six ones cost a lot of money, or yeah, these resources, it's not real money. And then, lower tier characters cost less. So that's how people, not the developers, but people, the community, balance the game. And because of that, the game grew again, because it was so fun, because you were not seeing the same teams over and over and over again. Still, very unbalanced game, and one of the most beloved fighting games of all time. People play it a lot today. So funny that happens. Here's another example for Akuma in Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. So this is before it goes out. This is when developers are balancing their characters and they have their own vision of the character. They think, okay, I want my character to be really powerful and very fast and has all these options, but I'm going to take away this and that. They have that vision and they follow through. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. For Akuma, the strengths are very good. He's very powerful, he's very fast, and he can be up in your face and has really good buttons, or he can be very far away and throw fireballs, which will make the other opponent desperate and then jump in and then you can punish that. So he's very good basically kind of everywhere on the screen. The trade-offs that he has is that he doesn't have access to EX moves. So in Street Fighter, you can throw a fireball, a Hadouken, or you can spend a little bit of resources to make it more powerful. So instead of being a one hit, it's a two hit. He doesn't have access to that. And he has the lowest health in the game. So very high risk, high reward. And I think that they have made a decent job. Akuma is always kind of there on the top tiers, but he's not broken, except in Street Fighter 2, because he wasn't meant to be played, but people found a way to hack him in, and he was banned. But in every game that he has appeared on, it's always this kind of balance. It's always low health, I'll do a lot of damage, and it's always up there. It has never been the toppest of them all, but it's always there. So I think it's good to have that level. Now we'll take a look at the tools that developers or people use to start looking at where to start, right? And then what do they do? What do they change to balance a specific character? Now, first is win rate and pick rate. This is a graph from Rainbow Six Siege, but I found it very interesting because they have this kind of 3 rows or 3 columns, and when you put them together, creates this kind of nice looking graph. And I think you can have a specific way of approaching a character depending on which box they appear. So maybe if you see it on here or in the right in the middle, you have something, you as the vision of, you have the vision of the character, and you know, okay, I do not want them to be here, I want them to be here. So what do we need to do? I think from just looking at it, maybe the most yellow one, the most blue one might be some problem areas that you need to take a look kind of fast, because that means it's never picked, and it's also never wins, or it's always picked and it always wins. So that's kind of bad. But this is just to give you a quick vision of where your characters might end up in the charts. Again, and this is coming from raw data. This is not biased data. This is not someone saying, I think this player or this character wins more. This is coming from your own data, your own matches. So this is not biased at all, which is really good. This is another way to look at it. This is from Street Fighter 6, the September usage data. And this is a very interesting part because you can see that is divided by levels, by experience levels. So on the first column, you got the rookies, the new players. Here you have the intermediate, and here you have the most hardcore players. And also, you can just see which characters repeat among the three columns. Yeah, you got Ken. It's always on here. Yuri is used here and here, but not on the pro players. Kami is also repeated here. So this can give you kind of an idea of, what's happening in your game. But this doesn't tell you, of course, the whole story, because many of these picks, at least here and probably here too, maybe they are, I think this character looks cool, so I'm going to pick this character. It's not taking into account if it's good or bad. I do that when I go into a new game. I just try to look for a cool character and pick him up. So this data is still not showing the whole story, right? So this is just an example. Now this, okay, kind of looks good. Okay. This kind of messy, watermark that I couldn't remove chart is called a matchup chart. It tells you it's basically a win chart, a win rate chart, but a character versus characters, very specific. And it will tell you the probability that a character has of winning against another character. Now you will see as this is the diagonal that it's always 50-50. So everything above 50% is considered good. So the green ones, and then everything below 50 is considered bad. So all the red ones. So this again, this is raw data. This is not biased at all. So you can take a look at this and see, okay, who has the most red ones? Maybe Ryu has a lot of, bad ones. But here it has a lot of good ones. So you need to take very specific data, and you need to divide it or filter it by skill points or skill rating, because if you take maybe everyone into account, it may create a mess of data, which might not tell you the truth of what's happening. But maybe if you segregate it for a specific skill rating, that will help. This data was only for people that have enough rank points in Street Fighter. So this tells you basically the win-up chart for professional or ranked hardcore players. Now we're back. We're back to a tier list of Smash. Now, as I've said, tier lists are very biased, but they give you a good idea of what's happening. But again, don't take them too seriously. You will often find messages like these ones all over the place that will be not real. People that don't know maybe the game, or they play for a little bit and it's not, they don't have the knowledge of what happened behind it. So again, just go and take a look at it and understand, okay, this is biased, but maybe it gives you something. Now, something funny happens when you turn around this, and it kind of represents the normal distribution, which I find interesting, but I don't know exactly what it means. I think in general, you will kind of always have this kind of curve, but the important thing is maybe try, and this is a big try, to not have the blue parts, because that means this tier is very good at doing something, and this tier is very bad at doing that exact same thing. So, of course, in the competitive landscape, this tier will never, ever see the light of day. So I don't think that's great. Of course, Smash is, yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for example, in this tier list, which is like the most official one that comes from the 100 top players, you have, well, it's let's go back. You have Cloud here. Now, Cloud is here because one player, which is really good with it, uses him. Nobody else plays him like he does. And everyone thinks kind of like he's kind of B tier, for example. But because this player gets results, then, well, it means, okay, maybe it's very powerful. So I think that's the perception you're talking about. You think, okay, this character is very good, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the player. In Melee happened a lot with Jigglypuff and Peach, which are considered not that great, but some players, very specific, put it at the almost limit. Yoshi also has that. And yeah, so it is kind of the perceived way. Yep.
Then most likely the other Highlands players so much experience playing against Cloud and knowing the matchup. So
Yep.
maybe that also benefits basically.
Yeah, that will happen at the start for sure. But then they will understand, hey, I'm losing to this not so good character because this player is very good. So let's train for that, and they do that. But the success that this player has gotten has not gone down. It's always up there. So there's something, right? But that definitely happens. That's exactly what happened with Yoshi and Melee, and nobody played that. And then this guy comes, and he knows exactly how to beat the top players or the top characters because they're always used. Nobody knew how to beat Yoshi. So then they start labbing and training for that specific matchup. And still, he found some success, well, a lot of success. So yes, that does happen at the start. And that's actually an advantage. What some people call it, it's like a pocket. When you have this character that you haven't showed to anyone, that might not be as good, but it will definitely be something new that people have not trained to play against you. So that's enough of an advantage to risk it to not maybe use a common character. Yes. So yeah, note here. Okay, so the next thing you do after you have identified this one or two characters that are always on the green on the matchup chart, they always are on top or super low on the tier list. You have identified one or two, and they don't align to your vision. You have research, and yeah, what is happening to that character is not what you wanted for that character as a designer. So what's next is just to buff or nerf. I said just because it's really difficult, but yeah. What can you buff or nerf? Well, basically anything that a character has. It can be HP, it can be different damage, it can be different properties in moves. You can give them new moves. It ranges basically anything that is a variable in a character. You can modify it, and anything that you modify will have an impact on the game. Anything, walking speed, block, size of shield, whatever, everything. So you need to be very careful when you do that. Now, as a general rule of thumb, it's better to buff than nerf, but don't take it and just buff everyone, even the strongest character. No, but it's just like a good way to go at it. Also, in the same patch that you are working on, it's important to kind of have a rule where you cannot buff a very weak character and then nerf the very strong character, because it's not a one-to-one relation when, okay, I'm gonna lower this character and I'm gonna buff this character and they're kind of meet in the middle. What will happen is if you buff this one, everything else changes, everything kind of drops because you're making this character more powerful. So it kind of balances. And then you also nerf this guy. So then it becomes like this, right? So it's important to be very mindful of the changes that you are doing. And of course, if you got an extremely broken character, everyone basically plays it. It's very easy to tell when something is really, really bad and unplayable. Then yes, you do that on the same patch. But yeah, as a general rule, just buff a little bit more than nerf. Not here. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at recent examples. Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6, one of the two of the most influential games, and they just got released this year. Street Fighter, I think, on March, and Mortal Kombat on June, maybe around that. And they have very different visions on how to balance their game. So, just so you know, balancing has not been how do you say it, solved. It's kind of like a very inexact science, and I think just a lot of mistakes and experience can tell you where to or when to do it. So Mortal Kombat 1, the latest patch, so I think last week, was 11th of November. They fixed bugs, so that's good, yes. But they also made some character adjustments. It has had multiple character adjustments because some characters are very strong or some characters are very weak. They have implemented quality of life improvements. That's good. And they have released a new character. So putting a new character into the game is basically like a balance patch in on itself because they will change the whole meta, the whole strategy. And I think Omni-Man from Invincible was the addition. And yeah, Street Fighter 6, on the other hand, the latest patch was on the 15th of November. Fixed bugs, yes, but they didn't have any character adjustments. They still have quality of life, and they have released 2 characters into their roster without balancing a single character. Now, something very curious has happened in this story of the history of Street Fighter 6 is that players by the first month thought they had already solved the game. They thought these characters are very good, these characters are very bad, and this is it. And kind of the top players agree on this kind of tier list. Some may change the middle, but it was all the same. But 2 months after, the whole tier list was changed because someone, a very good player, found, oh no, this character has access to this many options, so they can counter this many characters and so on and so forth. So it has become a very balanced game. Now, of course, you will see that Ken and JP, which are arguably the 2 strongest characters in the meta right now, yes, they have won many tournaments. These are the official tournaments for Capcom. And you will see, although it's very small, that you have 2 Kens there. I think there are a little bit more now. You have 2 JPs or 1, I think. And then you got a lot of new characters that are not considered top tier. You got Zangief, which is the worst character in every tier list, and everyone thinks that. And he made it. He won a tournament, and he's going to compete in the most elite tournament of Street Fighter. So what does that tell you? That still the tier lists are very biased, and people will always complain. Of course, that Zangief player needs to play basically perfect, while maybe Ken or JP can, afford some mistakes and still win, which is not great. The effort that someone needs to put in between each character is different, but still, the results are there. You got a lot of others. Rashid was one of the DLC fighters, considered very bad, and they won a tournament too. So that's pretty nice. I think what Capcom thinks is that the systems that are in place on the game, the universal mechanics, are very strong. So when they know that some characters might be strong or weaker than others, but those mechanics will kind of level out the play field for everyone. And they have said that they will not balance the game until the last character is out. So that's a whole year without any balance changes. So we will see how that works out. I don't think there's a better or worse between those 2 approaches. It's just which one is better for your own game. Okay, so now we'll go into a case study, and this is Diego. Anyone play Killer Instinct or knows Killer Instinct? No, it was kind of the rival for Mortal Kombat because it was again made in the United States and very dark, very blood is everywhere, kind of like Mortal Kombat. But it has a lot of focus on combos and everything. Now we need to get used to some terminology really fast because the way they balanced touches on these parts. So maybe you know what a frame is. Basically, every game kind of runs on frames. Fighting games usually run at 60, and you will count everything that you do in those frames. Every move that you have has a startup, which is 2 frames, like this example. I don't know if you can see it. It's the green part is the startup, and then it's active, or you hit the opponent in this part, and then that character recovers on this part. So after this, the player that made the input can act again. And as you can see, the other character that got hit by it cannot act again. That's how combos work. You finish with a move that basically has more recovery than the stun of the opponent. Here we can have so yeah, just a visual representation of what happens. And this is, of course, in less than a second. I think it's like around 40 something frames. So yeah, very fast. That leads us to player options. So if your frame data is really good, that means you can combo or do multiple things whenever you hit the opponent. And a lot of the good characters in a lot of fighting games have a lot of options that they can do. Maybe they can hit you and then go back to a safe position, or maybe they can, when you do something really far away, they can still reach you in time to punish you, and so on and so forth. Now, safe is an option or a term that it's called when you do a move, but you can still block or just block or evade or dodge or whatever after you have done it. And punish is what you do when someone whiffs or misses an attack. We'll see some examples. So guy throws a move, and this guy Urian also makes a move. Made an unsafe one, but if a distance, then he's safe. And you really need to know what things are safe and which are not. And many many top tier characters have a lot of safe options. So they can just be throwing moves after moves after moves, and you cannot do anything about it. Maybe you've played some fighting game and you're like, why does he always do this move? And I cannot do anything about it after I try everything and then I get hit by it. That's what's happening, right? And then punish Street Fighter 5 has a count that thing. So after the uppercut, you can even far back to pattern, you will get hit by it because you have frames that you cannot do anything. It might be 10 or 5 or whichever frames you have. And if the opponent has a faster attack, then they will be able to punish. Normally, very powerful moves are also very risky, so they will have a lot of frames of recovery. And if they miss it, then that's your chance to punish. Okay, so back to Diego. What was happening? So everyone, after a couple of months of the game being out, everyone was complaining about him because Diego has a quirk, a special ability that he can recover his HP. So we'll see a little bit of it. Oh. So focus on this part, which is Diego's life, right? So he's just punishing and then lands a hit and full combo with a lot of HP back. So everyone was complaining because at the start he was just, mashing some buttons, but what you don't know is that he could not be punished there because all the options that he was doing was very safe. So even if the opponent tried to do something, it will not work and it will just get hit and then full combo after that. So everyone was complaining about this, the HP. And Iron Galaxy, the developers, thought, okay, we'll look at Diego, but we don't think it's the health regeneration that is the problem. In their own words, they thought that was the symptom, but they wanted to find the disease, right? Yeah. So he throws fireballs, and then you cannot do anything. Of course, you can spend some resources to do something, but then that means if the Jago player knows, okay, the only way they can get out of this is by spending resources, they're going to be maybe a little bit more careful. And most often than not, he will win, right? So what was the actual problem? So they spent 4 months researching what was happening with Diego. And the first thing they noticed, okay, he doesn't have any bad matchups in general. The worst that he had was a 5-5 or a 50-50, which is normal. Basically, that's the minimum. Every other matchup, he was above 50. Why is that? So again, they researched more, and it's because he's really strong on basically any part of the screen. He's kind of weak on the middle, but if he's really close to you, he has really good buttons. And if he's very far, he can throw the fireballs that you saw, and they're very good. And normally that will create the player to jump in at you, and then you punish, kind of similar like Akuma, but then he has all the HP. So the only problem area that he had was the middle screen, but he had a magic move called the wind kick, and the wind kick gets you right in their face very fast. It will happen very fast. Well, I'll try to show you where. Oh, it's not there. Well, yeah, while it loads, okay, that one, okay. That kick that goes kind of full screen, and that leads to a combo. Now, it's not the only property that it has. It can start a combo from mid-screen, which is really strong, but it's also very fast. And if the opponent blocks it, you're still safe. So they cannot punish you. It will put you on, I think, a -2, which means the other opponent has only 2 frames to input a move or throw a move out. Now, in Killer Instinct at that season, there was only one move that was 1 frame startup, and you have to spend resources. So if you don't have them, then you cannot do anything. It's only 1 character, and you need to take into account that you need time to think and see what's happening and react and input the move and everything. So it was very difficult. You basically had to read the opponent. I mean, like, he's throwing this kick right now, and I will do something. And even then, you cannot combo it. You can just hit it to stop it, right? We'll see another example, more in combat. So we'll see he's close by. And there it went. It's kind of fast, but it happens around the middle. The other character whiffs a move, and then instantly he goes in, full combo, right? So that was the problem, not the healing. So they did it. They nerfed the wind kick. Here's a really interesting patch notes from the developers, and it tells you their vision of the character, why they did it, and the changes they did. So I'll let you read for a minute. Yeah, maybe. Bam. You want me to read it? Okay, sure. Okay, Diego is a powerful character who doesn't really struggle at any range or without any matchup. He has the game's most powerful something and defensive tools. I think I can move it. Yeah, I got it. Don't worry. And he has very potent offense as well. So yeah, what I described. So they wanted to maintain his defensive specialty, which is the healing factor, but slightly weaken his up close offense, and also make it more difficult for Diego to close in on his opponents. So we still fully expect Diego to be a top 5 character. So they expect that. After the changes, they may seem dramatic, but we feel it's for the best of the overall game. I don't know how just changing like basically 2/6 of a second, it's dramatic, but it is. So the light wind kick is now, so you have various wind kicks. is -4, it was -2. Now every character has a jab that it's a 3-frame attack. So that means they can punish that. So that's good. It's still very difficult to do because you need to be very quick to press and you need to be precise, but still. Now the medium one is -6 and the heavy one, which goes almost full screen, is -11. So that is very punishable. You can do basically whatever you want if they throw that one out, and if you block it. Yeah. So what did you think the community thought of this change? Yeah. They hated it so much. Yeah, exactly. It was basically, what is this? We asked for reduce the healing, not change any of the moves. The moves were great. It was fun playing as him and just basically go bananas in front of any other character. So everyone was complaining. But then after a month and a half, very specifically, a month and a half, tranquility. Everything was solved. People were coming up with new strategies on how to counter Diego. Diego was not top 1, but he was still very good. So the whole game balanced itself. Then they thought, Iron Galaxy thought, oh, we made a really good job. And I agree. Now, if you look at the tier list right now, you will also see Diego kind of up there. The game has changed a lot. They have implemented more systems and mechanics, but this is why it's important to take your time and not listen 100% to the players. They might be, in the correct track. Yes, Diego had something, but it was not what they thought it was. So yeah. And now we're at the conclusion. As I said, kind of at the start, balance isn't always as important. Fun, I think, is number 1. A lot of the games that are played or are regarded as very good fighting games, Street Fighter 2, Marvel, multiple iterations of Marvel, Tekken, all of those, Smash, they are very unbalanced, I would say. But people are willing to accept some unbalance if the game is fun. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you for your talk. Let's have a 10 minutes break and let's come back for the QA session. Go.
I guess I'll leave it there for they want to ask some people.
The screen is not zooming enough. You really need to zoom in. Like most of the time, this picture is so small that people cannot see.
Over there?
Yeah, over there.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it would look like
No, it's not. It's not large enough.
okay.
So you need to zoom in more.
I guess just the text, hopefully.
And I don't like the way you present in this slide. Because it also blocks the title. People will forget what title is behind it. So it's better to leave the space or leave the picture above and to see how this is going on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but yeah, the title is not important. The important thing was to draw definition or a lack of definition, right? So,
but people need to know what you are talking about because that's how the brain works. You cannot subtract the definition from the game.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Well done.
Thank you.
I wrote down notes. It's like a debrief on the next.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Do we have any plans what you want to go next?
I don't know. I'm still thinking of I think they're recording the presentation. That's, yeah, apparently. I didn't know that. So it's on soon. Yeah, yeah. But I think I might want to do like a video, but more like a series of videos, because I think this it's kind of content, and I cannot go deep into some topics.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I would like to hear like what.
Yeah,
do you
let's
think?
talk about on the next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What can be done next? Because I'm kind of a little bit lost after it. Like I don't know what to do. What would be the better thing to do? Yeah.
I'm gonna take off now.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thanks.
Smash Bros. I can do all of these animates on the highest like but like it's
So
I started out the second part, the beginning, just to quickly say a few words about the semester break, because I think we should offer kind of like an informal version where people can still sign up. So if people want to do Forum Ludorum, with knowing that it's not the official kind of, but kind of like the trial series, right? If you would like to try out holding a presentation, but with a smaller audience, something like that, just to announce it, that there is still the option for Forum Ludorum, but we kind of have a threshold to, either the people have to make it happen themselves, and also accept that there's fewer people. So just, yeah. So everybody, just a second before we continue. Oh yeah. So thank you very much. Basically, first of all, I wanted to take this point because most likely as soon as this is finished, everybody is, going to run away or, So first of all, thank you very much for coming and being here this evening. Second, thank you very much, Ping, because thanks to Ping, Forum Ludorum has actually been happening in this professional way this semester with recordings, with an official YouTube channel, right, where you can see all the ones that you missed. preparing a schedule and a curriculum. So basically that was the official part of Forum Ludorum for this semester. And this is how things could continue next semester. And of course, it will not always rest on Pink's shoulders alone, right? So this is the obligatory kind of looking at the students, you know, maybe BA3 or you know, or super motivated BA1, but I don't want to push more on you at the moment. However, so just keep it in mind that there is also Forum Ludorum, right, is also happening thanks to people. So think about, could, you know, the role that Ping is currently taking be a role that you maybe want to aspire to in the future? Is the role of that are awesome lecturers that have been, you know, taken this semester, is that a role that you would maybe want to consider? And third, what you can, if you're kind of like, you know what, maybe I have this topic that I'm kind of shy, this is perfect, because what happens now is in the second part of the semester, there is unofficial Forum Ludorum. It's kind of like this, but in a way lower, like realistically way fewer people might come. But at the same time, it's less pressure. We can use those evenings just to play games. We can make a board game evening, a role-playing game evening. And this can be like a test platform for everybody who would like to try themselves out, who was like, okay, maybe the official thing is a little bit much, you know, maybe I'm not that deep, you know, I don't have such a deep knowledge as we saw, you know, actually every week, right? But there is a topic I'd like to explore, but, you know, I would like to try it, but not that prominent. So keep that in the back of your head and kind of apply-ish. I mean, there is no formal application process, but maybe kind of let Ping know if you want to do something and when. And then we'll have something informal happening until everybody is so overloaded with collaborative projects that then we just skip the meeting. That is the second to last thing. And the last thing is that this semester we have kind of provided food every week. And currently the way this is happening is basically Ping is going shopping and then I'm reimbursing him on PayPal with my private money, which is completely fine. Like those are like between 10 and 20 euros per week. So it's not that much. However, you can see if you can calculate that it can become a little bit more. You don't have to. I know students don't have a lot of money. I know several of you have to work just to be able to pay for their studies. So no pressure. But if you want to, feel free to contribute to the buffet. You know, if you're still at home in the morning and you see there's still a package of Salzstangen, you know, lying around, just put it into your pocket and then add it to the buffet. And then I think in the future, there will never be a shortage of food, which of course means that we have a high amount of new people because, yeah, that more than we thought, which is amazing. But yeah, in the future, this might be prevented, you know, if we share a little bit. And with this, I want to thank you and wish you tons of fun in the collaborative project phase. And, you know, hope that we still see each other occasionally and then see you all in this way next semester. And thank you once more. Also, of course, to today's lecture. Here you go.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. Okay, so
Let's back to our Q&A session. So anyone want to take it first? Here you go.
Darren.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you like give us an overview of the next step of fighting games. However, I think I see two commonalities. So I want to ask you if they are necessary or maybe just accidental. These are the
All right.
Play versus accident. So, for example, you could bring GP. Sure, also you can skill that, but because you can have such different items, such different builds, if you play 1,000 hours, you get better gear than if you play 100 hours, right? So the gears is different. Whereas if you try to get kind of supposed to come in the same way all the time, because one practice.
Okay.
One is real time versus so a big part of the whole discussion was how we need to react fast or anticipating fast, right? So all of these games are real time.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there's Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
So, or are they just happen to be majority of
Okay. I think for the first one, the item thing, in Mortal Kombat, what was it, X or 11, one of those two. I think it was X. So you could build kind of your character to have special moves, but you cannot have access to all of them, right? So they have to create kind of like 3 characters in each of those. But it seemed to be kind of like this equipment based. So I would say, yeah, in most fighting games, or in the majority of them, yeah, they come as they are, and you don't have to, go out of it, like to grab another piece of gear that basically changes the whole play style. That I agree, it's a commonality. On the turn-based, I think, right, there is, I think, King of Fighters also, like an RPG kind of, not RPG, but like turn-based fighting game thingy. But it's more like a spin-off. So I would say it will be very difficult to do, and I cannot think of a way right now to make like a turn-based fighting game. I think all of them take place in real time. So I agree that will be a commonality. But then I guess this is like jumping off from like the kind of agreeing on a definition, right? Then it will be as to say, oh, so every fighting game must be or has this element that is on real time. But then how do you differentiate that from other games that also take place in real time, that also have a component of player versus player, kind of like that, right? So I'm not too sure if still the definition, it can be very broad, but then you encompass a lot of games that might not be fighting games per se, I would say.
May I have an answer for it? Excuse me. I know actually I'm very bad at fighting games, but actually I want to answer this question because it's based on how you perceive genre. Because for me, and the reason why I hold this 8 station is because I believe genre is just a block of mechanics, and you can stack all the blocks together and to build another game. So it doesn't matter like if this game combines with fighting game or with other elements, it has a build or it has RPG elements or whatever it has. It just every genre actually we're actually talking about is the mechanics that fundamentally compose this genre. And then all the blocks can be stacked together. So right now what I say is, yes, in Mortal Kombat X or whatever 11, yes, it maybe have a build elements into it, but it just another block just added to it. So that's my answer to it.
I think I also have one aspect that you could view it with, which is the aspect of biology. Basically, what this is satisfying is an animalistic need that we constantly have to suppress, right? Because normally in nature, everything is a situation, right? So you're an animal, I'm an animal. This is a place, right? The magical circle, typically, you can think of it like in a forest, there's lots of trees, but now there is no trees in the middle, a meadow. We see each other, and that is this situation, only that in nature, we will try to find every single way not to have this happen, because the likelihood of us both going out of the situation and being so harmed that we can't do anything anymore and we'll both die, that's going to be the outcome. So basically, this is a need you can only fulfill in the games. This particular need, which is a so-called basic emotion, which builds on the emotion of rage. Rage is the combination of all the things that fill you up in the moment when you're in this situation, when in a competitive situation, right? You both want that space. You both want that food. You both want that mate, right? So there is something you both want at the same time. You're more or less the same level. And now a decision has to be made. And I think this combination of things, like what biological situation am I in, can also be a genre determinator, because it's differentiated by the feelings you have. A horror game is a different situation. It's a fear-based stimulus. This is an anger-based stimulus. And then you have, for example, right, let's say we're both attracted to each other, suddenly it becomes a different genre, because now why would you want to fight me? You now have to do different things in this different situation. So sorry, I just went here to kind of demonstrate this animal thing. I think this is another genre perspective. And yeah, and just saying the visceral feeling of showing your teeth, your claws, and then going into action is something completely different than rationally sitting there, right, and making the rational chess-based choices.
Any more questions here? Yeah, sure.
Still very early example of a smash match where you say the player who played last week got into the right flow, and space flow, and they do a turnover and whole game. Now, what happens in smash is that once you lose, you kind of come back almost immediately. If you lose about, if you lose one stop, right? Yeah. You kind of like blink for 2 seconds and come back immediately. There's very little space to rest between that. Whereas in a game like Tekken or like Street Fighter, if you lose a match, there's a whole cutscene, start talking, you have like maybe a minute before you get into the next match again. So I don't know if during your research, if you look anything come out about the effect of having a break, or like how long the break is in this, and how that affects the performance, or like how that swings the mentality of the player.
Is it like a follow-up or a different question? Yeah, sure.
I don't know if breaks really like are excluded from Smash Bros. Because in Smash Bros, yeah, you instantly respawn after you lose a life, but you will still play like 2 or 3 matches in the tournament, and you have breaks in between the matches. So you play like a best of 3 against your opponent, for example, and after every game you have like a break to reset your mental and start from scratch again, basically. And in other fighting games that don't have like life that you can use in the round, I think you also have this aspect of flow, especially like Street Fighter or something. When you hit a combo and the enemy or the other player is caught up in your combo, you're like more likely, I guess, to hit the next combo because you're in this flow state. You're in this state of being active and not have to respond to the opponent. You're the aggressor in that moment. And that's the same for Smash Bros. As well, because the reset comes when the whole match is over and you start into the next round, basically. But to lose a life or like to take, I don't know, 1/3 of your opponent health bar, like 2 combos or 3 combos that follow each other, it's like basically the same thing because.
But that's precisely the question. Is it the same thing? Like in your research, is it the same thing? The fact that you take 1/3 of the HP bar, right, versus the fact that you lose 1 stop and have that taken a blinking in between. Have you seen any research on that? And does that show how that affects anything?
So I haven't done any research on that, but it's funny that you mentioned because yes, when you lose a stock, you have this small break, but I think that really small break, it's less so because it doesn't matter if you're blinking because you have invincibility, but that player can act instantly even when he's still blinking. So really the break is kind of before, kind of where when you send them offline or whatever, right? But that small break, I would say, is very similar to when you win a round, not a match, but a round in a more traditional fighting game like Street Fighter. Because now when you win a match, it's basically like it's 2-3 seconds, and they play like an animation, kind of like oh yeah, I win, but you can just press start and the next round starts immediately. Like you just see like round 2 fight, whatever. So it's very similar to that one. And then both games and many other, when you finish the match, then you have the animation and all the quotes and stuff. And it's a very common thing in high level play, where even if players are going to stay with the same character, that you can just hit rematch, they go back to a character select screen to have like a reset on their mental state. They select everything the same, characters, stage, everything is the same, but they had to do that mental reset. But yeah, I don't know if there's like a clear difference or a beneficial thing specifically to this Smash thing. I think it was just really Sakurai doesn't like fighting games, so he was like, "No, I want to give players that are losing, give them some 5 seconds of vulnerability," which he just made out of the blue.
I'll be very interested if you have anything that's talked about breaks the length of the match, the break between the match, the ratio between this thing, how any quantify the result, or if you have something like that.
Yeah, I will. Thanks. Any other questions? Yep.
Thank you for the presentation. You talked about win rate and pick rate, and you gave examples like how to affect win rate, which I guess was an effect on pick rate. Do you have like a question? How would you change pick rate without affecting win rate?
Haha. Oh yeah. Well, win rates. Let's say yes. The whichever character, Ryu from Street Fighter or Ryu. Yeah, he's not picked as often, right? So that means his win rate is defined by kind of how many times it has been picked and what has happened in those matches. But now, let's say you did something to the character and now he's being picked way more. It is very possible that the win rate will stay the same, because either a lot of new players are choosing this character that may lose and may win, and some other good players might jump in. So it doesn't necessarily have a one-on-one relation. It really will you will just need to see how is the meta or the values evolving over time, because it's probably whatever you change will affect the win rate at some point, but then it may level itself out again in the long run. But I don't think there's like a sure way of affecting one of these values and not affecting the other in some way, at least in the short term.
Maybe not like the good or normal design choice, but when you change just the appearance or maybe how the player receives what's happening, you can maybe increase the pick rate. So because it maybe feels better to play, but there is no change the abilities at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, I don't think it's a long-term effect that can change the pick rate without changing the win rate over a longer amount of time. But for short-term effects, definitely like give the character like a new skin, a visual overhaul, and I don't know, new animations or something that have maybe the same frame timing, so you don't change the actual dynamics of the character or the win rate, but then give like pleasing visual appeal and maybe bring players to replay that character or new players to try out more likely or something to increase play rate at least for a short time unless everyone gets used to the new visuals and then maybe all over again.
Yeah, that makes sense, but still that means a lot of more matches will be played with this character, right? Because it's getting picked way more because they had a new super cool skin. That will inherently affect the win rate, because either those players are losing or winning more, whichever, and that will have an impact. Now, it might still be like this, kind of the same, or maybe players find out because they are picking it more. They find a new strategy, and then maybe the win rate shoots up more or something, right? But I think it will still impact on that thing. Yeah, that's what I said. Or that I couldn't figure it out. Like, yep. Pragya?
Playing style to an offensive style, not in the same for another character. You make it more likely to stick because maybe this is all players that what kind of players that completely not necessarily because they're on the
Yeah, I think they tried that with Overwatch with Symmetra. I think she started as a support, but nobody played her as a support. So they thought, okay, we need to kind of overhaul her because the perception of her is that she's very like attack focused. So they remade a lot of her abilities and then they made her an attack character that of course had an impact of pick rate and win rate of her, but it was a completely different role, right? Like as you're kind of mentioning. But they didn't do then, oh, let's grab an attacker and make him like a supporter. They didn't like kind of do that. But still, I wouldn't say it's like a one-to-one thing when you just swap kind of these archetypes. I think it really it's not like yeah, it's not a one-to-one, right? Any other questions? No? Okay.
I have some questions for you. Like, so you've seen so many balancing style and so many some tools to balance. Then, what do you think the future is going to work? Like, in the future, what kind of tools might come up in the balancing? Like, is AI gonna help for the balancing or not?
That's a good question. I think it's going to be, I think, a little bit more difficult, even though we have all the experience of how maybe characters should be, because now with the amazing power of the internet, games get figured out very quickly. So at least that before it took years and years to find like a strategy or something, right? And now they optimize each character very quickly. So in order to balance, that depends on what your vision for the game is. If you're content, for example, for League of Legends, they constantly change the meta because that's what they want. They're not trying to make, I mean, and still keep it balanced, right? But they want to change it every now and then because they want to. But in most of the time, fighting games, they don't do that. They don't just change a character just because, oh, we want to see someone else on top. They are trying to make everyone kind of on top. So it really depends on what is your vision for the game. And I think, yes, sure, AI could help in some way in, looking at the numbers, the raw data of matchup charts and win and pick and everything, and then try to, okay, make some changes. But then, yeah, it needs to, of course, learn from what you have done before in order to adjust those numbers that you are telling the AI to do. For example, if you want to increase the percentage of a specific character against another character, then it needs to check, okay, the last time we did that, to increase this, we increased the movement speed of the character. So I'm going to do that the same way. But that might not have the same exact same impact that it had before. So I think the tools are still very not static, but it's really just a game of numbers at the end. You need to check the data, and then whatever you think will impact the data a certain way, you will have to change it.
So I know you talked about fighting games don't necessarily need to be perfectly balanced, but let's imagine that we create a perfectly balanced fighting game. And do you think players would still come up with those tier lists, and why?
Kind of. I had a dumb example of a tier list for rock paper scissors, which is supposedly a balanced game, but it was just a meme. They exist. There are two games that I would consider balanced fighting games. One is Karate Champ because you have the same character and it's very old, and then you have a new one which is called Footsies, which is very good and teaches you all the fundamentals of fighting games. And both characters are the same character. You do not choose differently. And no, there's not a tier list. I mean, maybe there was like poor priority or something weird happening on the back end. There will be a tier list of, oh, player 1 is better than player 2. Yeah, and they're perfectly balanced. Well, that's kind of, yeah, the holy grail kind of thing. But then if somehow you can quantify this kind of these characters and all the strength and weaknesses and all the frame data that they have and everything, right? And you somehow go to the conclusion that they are perfectly balanced and they're all kind of the same. I think they will still, for sure, someone would create a tier list and say this character is better, because tier lists inherently are biased. So I would have my perception of, I think this character looks slightly cooler than all the other ones, even though they have the same power or whatever. For example, they might think in Street Fighter 1, which the only versus kind of game that they have was the same character, but they had a different color. So it was Ryu and Ken. But they were the same character. And people will think Ken is cooler because it's red. And they will create some tier list, right? But in this hypothetical case, I will still think they will do it. Yeah. I think, I don't know. Yeah, Lou was first, I think. I saw your hand. Okay. Yeah, I think yes, I agree that if there were more than 3-5 characters on a roster of 20 something on Melee and 56 on Marvel, yes, it will be way more fun. But that's the thing, that right now it's still fun. Now, if that funness level dropped a little bit or somehow, then I think a lot of people will just not. They will have not stayed with that game. So yes, I agree that having more characters that are viable, because I really like I said, like Ganondorf in Melee and all the other iterations, but it's really bad. So I would like to have this, character that it's on top and can compete. But still, the game overall, it's fun. So yes, agree on the statement that more characters being balanced, that's a good thing. But still, I think we can all handle a little bit of unbalanced in the thing.
I think there would still be tiers even if the characters are the same, maybe not about the characters, because when they look the same and they are the same character, basically, they might be tiers about the second group. Like, for example, I don't know, the jump attack is so much stronger, or he's like, I don't know, 2 more things than the ground grab or whatever. So they would like make tiers about that. And I also kind of an example for this. The game before. It's basically a pixel fighting game where you have to pass your opponent's character and reach the end of the level, basically. It's like American football. You have to run to the other side, and your enemy is trying to stop you, and then it's his turn to run when he stops you. So there are also different moves that you can make, like the dodge roll. I don't know, you can hit with the sword and you can throw the sword. And but if you have thrown your sword, you are out of swords, so you have to fight with your hands and get close to the enemy, so the enemy has the advantage with the reach weapon. It's a pretty cool game, and I think there are also like tier lists and strategies.
Do they all have like the same swords or no? Yeah. Oh, okay. And they're tier list on that. Okay. Yeah. People love to put their opinion on the internet and say like, "Hey, I'm correct, and I play this game 100 hours. I know my stuff. This is the absolute truth." So yeah, I don't think you can stop that on anything.
Maybe more, let's say, philosophical level. what Ethan said, when you would have a perfectly balanced game, and I was wondering if it's maybe like not maybe good to have a perfectly balanced game, because it's also good to have some better characters or worse characters, so it's more interesting, more appealing to the players, and there's more tension also for players which are maybe very good, so they take as challenge characters which are not very good, for example.
Yeah, that is kind of fun actually to do. Yeah, I'm just even though I like this some balancing thing in a way, when they are very, very, very bad and very, very, very good, that's when it's not so good. Like if you played Smash Bros. Brawl and you played against a good Meta Knight, it was basically hell. You just want to unplug your controller. So that is not fun. But then you get into Marvel, for example, Marvel 3, which every character, everyone has a touch of that. So if they start a combo, they can kill you with enough resources, but it's very easy to get resources. Basically, every character is really, really strong. I mean, there are stronger ones, but people love it. People love to get have a combo in their face that is like a 200 hit combo, and you die, and you're like, damn, that was cool. So why is it that? Maybe it's the flashiness, maybe it's the graphics, maybe it's because it requires a lot of input precision. So you kind of accept like, well, that was kind of good. But yeah, it can vary for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
I don't think you can deny that. I know they have not, but like their base is like 2 people right now. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, you know, like I know those games are fun. Like I don't feel like the others was like Marvel's technically don't have more obviously after like 20 years. And the meta game is like basically I think like last Evo was like the same team on both sides, and it's basically just like waiting out until one player moves. So everyone can get in and like do a ton of that. So I think that you can like really see like yeah, those games are like I don't know, fun, like they like the system is like a lot of fun to do and play and move and do the moves and like a lot of characters that really like and like a lot of things and stuff, but like meta games there is like one reason why I don't in a way it's fun, but also you know really like
Yeah. Yeah. Marvel very specifically has had a very interesting story. So again, after like 2 years of Marvel 3, they thought they figured out the game. Phoenix was the strongest character for a long shot because she can transform into this super busted character. And that strategy dominated for like 2 or 3 years. And then somehow someone thought, you can punish when she transforms. So it required like 4 years of just battling this meta over and over for a game that was figured out until they found out they can punish that. So then everyone starts training to punish that, and then she's still strong, but you know there are other teams viable. And then this player from Chile comes with a very unorthodox team that everyone thought this is a very bad team, and he won Evo. And then it was like, okay, so this is really good. Maybe it was because they haven't played against him that much, but he kept winning and winning and winning. And he stuck to that team. And then the new meta came around, and it's the mirrors that you saw in the past Evo with Zero, Virgil, and Doom, I think. So what is telling you that this meta will stay as it is for a long time if the meta has changed along the years? I think that's kind of the part of it. And yes, of course, the community is low because it's an old game. The same kind of as Melee. I mean, Melee is super big, but I don't think it's as big as Ultimate because Ultimate is the new thing. You still have the top players of Melee. And again, you will have thought that, okay, yeah, this game has been figured out. You only play Fox, basically, but people still play other characters. And again, this Yoshi player, it's like insane, and he made the rounds, and he won at a big major. So, of course, maybe not the toppest players were there of the back in the time, but still. So I think even though it's still a little bit unbalanced and stuff, yes, people will still play it, but of course, in a less people will do. Like Street Fighter 2, you will argue, well, it's a very influential game, and it's still a good game, but it's extremely unbalanced. You can like kill everyone with like 3 hits, and stun them, like do a infinite stun. But people will tell you, yeah, okay, yeah, it's a good game. And maybe they will not say it's a balanced game, but they will say, yeah, it's a good game. I'll play for an hour or two, and that's it, right? But it's because the new one, it's also here. So I think it's a bit of that.
All right. Do one more. Okay.
I was still thinking about Pink's question, where fighting games are going. And I think I found a very disturbing potential answer in combination with what's happening with gaming right now and AI. I think that gacha games are going to merge with the gacha game genre is going to merge with the fighting game genre, where you're going to because the fighting game genre is specifically targeted to males. I'm not saying that females aren't playing the game as well, but I'm talking about broad genre or broad target audience categories. I think that by combining it with a gacha where you can have a waifu that you can invest in, that will reward you after every training session, will be the waifu character that's at home and that's like, oh my God, you know, cheering you with different types of female personalities, like the domina that's cheering you in a mad way, right? Or the cute one and so on. So you have kind of like this girlfriend who always cherishes you on after every single fighting session. And now it gets even crazier. Not only are you going to be able to invest financially into your gacha girlfriend, motivating you kind of character, you can actually set stakes for tournaments where you're kind of betting on your character that you're deeply invested into and making this kind of like the gladiator horror scenario of the future, because people will watch this. And why will they watch this? Because the person will be emotionally crushed after this thing, and there is nothing that gets viewers as much as drama and high stakes and people being completely crushed. This is my dystopian future of the fighting genre. What say you guys?
That's so possible.
System that would support itself over a long time, because all the pro players would lose one fight and be destroyed for the next 5 years, like emotionally. So they wouldn't be able to participate in the next tournament.
No, but that would be like the street fight kind of thing. You could have clean fights where you don't have to bet your fight, right? Like she cheers you on in between the breaks, and that's a normal tournament. And then there's the horrible street fight, kind of dirty, asshole, disgusting, that only horrible people with trauma would watch. And that's funny. So there's going to be like a clean thing that the state can put on ARD and ZDF, and then there's the super RTL 2 kind of, you know,
I'm not sure.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if they say that because the similar games already exist in Japan. It's not I'm not sure if it's globally released. I haven't checked it because right now I see there is a Chinese version and a Japanese version. I'm not sure if the English version yet, but and it's actually plays like it's more like an RPG. It's not like a fighting game, but yes, this kind of game exists.
Last years to create genres. It's just a matter of time until those two get smashed together because they fit so well in a horror movie.
Very fun. Really, really out of fighting games are just like fighting games talking about those fighting games like they are based on like competitiveness.
But what do you think competitiveness is based on? What do you think Mother Nature designed competitiveness for? What are you competing for in biology? What are two male animals competing for? Two things, one of two things, but they both merge: leadership and all the females, which in a lot of animal tribes go hand in hand, especially in those like the bigger the contrast between male and female animals, the more polygamistic a biological society is. And so this is the natural outcome. So I do think that, you know, this has deep biological fundamental.
I mean, like, there would be like, okay, like, where do the fighting game players go, right? Like, what games do they play, but like, they never did a fighting game and a novel. like the whole system, there's more about the systems, like I don't know what's going to be popular in the future. The question is with this big system itself, like doesn't run gacha. But so that's like the reason every fighting game has a separate gacha thing. Like Sea Fighter gacha, the Sky Girls gacha, there's like Dragon Ball gacha, there's like Red, Blue, whatever. But like as you can see, like I don't think we can go merge with like they will introduce like a fighting game, like fighting games, like people that play fighting games, they want to compete on their like, skill level, like they're really competitive about having like no external factors contributing to like the system. Every kind of like itemization and like drops here items in the form of armor or a waifu pillow next to you. Doesn't matter, but like it doesn't really go well with the draw itself. Like, you can say, of course, fighting games have to be kind of popular to make a lot of people even better gacha games, but like I think it's a discussion. Just like
I mean, we can make this informal bet. I'm not going to be sad if my horrible teacher is not going to happen, but let's just memorize this moment and then look each other in the eye 10, 20 years down the line and see, you know, where.
Yeah. All right.
For any kind of dire thing at stake. So I don't think competitiveness needs to be as dire and
All right. Excuse me. I think the time is over here. And that's thanks Pony Ed again. And that's for today. And so there's the last thing that as Greta has said, after today it's gonna be informal forum room. You can still contact me, and or if you want to wait for next semester, and if Greta still want me to be this position again one more semester, and I have another list over here already, and there is 16 list, and we are going to choose some of them to pick up. And if you are interested in some of the games, and we can talk together or you have your idea, like what you want to present, then you can talk to me, because we're trying to fit in this category. The next semester we are going to talk about adventure game and simulator and strategy game. And and the last one is how the complicated integration, like how other genres can mix together. And if you are interested in this topic and you have some ideas to prepare, then you can talk to me and we can see how it can work in the next semester. All right, and that's for today. Thank you for your participation.